she smiled. And I'm so happy about that.
Once.
Ouch.
I have loved everything they've done. And this week, I didn't love it.
I am living for this. That is a dream celebrity partner.
Boo, judges, boo.
Again.
Mediocre.
Yeah.
Kind of average. She can do better.
These group numbers, I just don't know if I like them or not. I didn't know what to think about it. The skating was great. The characterization was...
Were you confused.com?
I was literally confused.com.
Take 14.
It's murder on the dance floor, so you better not kill the groove, DJ.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Icebreakers podcast. It is dance week here. I am Matt Evers, sat alongside my beautiful disco diva, Frankie Seaman. You look amazing.
Did you come as a street dancer? Your diversity.
I did. Kind of
Wow.
like little warm-up gear.
Loving your work.
Because I didn't have any disco outfits with me.
It's dance week and I'm loving your street vibe.
Thank you.
Well, it has been a busy and exciting week here at the Icebreakers podcast.
It has.
We were on this morning, hello,
Woohoo!
on the sofa with Rylan and Rochelle. I loved it. I'm here for it.
So much fun. So much fun. And we have to give a big shout out too to OK Magazine, who is featuring the podcast every single week on all of their digitals. So
Mondays and Tuesdays, so catch it while you can.
Thank you. Thank you. Speaking of Dance Week, there were partner shakeups. There were tantrums. There were Barneys between partnerships. And there was a whole load of shit. But what an incredible show.
Actually, this was my favorite week. I love Dance Week. I feel like if I could just dance on ice, I'd be an Olympic champion at it.
You were in Dancing on Ice, though.
No, if I could just dance on the ice all the time. Oh, you remember. Thank you.
Oh, I do remember, yes. This week was absolutely epic, not only on the ice, but off the ice. As we saw in all the training videos, there were partner shakeups, there were tantrums, there were Barneys, there was a whole lot of shit on the ice, literally.
That was just in the studio.
But to be fair, the cast, I believe, from what it sounds like, what we've seen on social media, there's a bit of a virus that has gone through the Dancing on Ice cast this week. So yes,
It's Brown Week.
Hence why we were in Brown. So the show started out this week with another incredible number with all of the celebs on the ice. Holly and Steven back at the tunnel. These group numbers, I just don't know if I like them or not. And even I can remember being in them, for the past however many years. It's hard. They are so difficult to get your celeb ready, and also you're in direct competition with whoever is stood next to you.
I mean, I think there's two schools of thought. Either you see it as a warm-up, they've got their feet on the ice in the studio with the studio audience, so you feel that energy and you kind of can get that out of their body, so it's not a complete shock to their system the first time they skate out, which is for the routine. Or the second school of thought is just leave it to the pros. I mean, we saw Ariana DeBose last week.
Huge.
Incredible. What an amazing number. And I think, for the enjoyment of the show, I would prefer to see a routine like that.
Granted, the Ariana number was a voting window, but
Right.
still, it is such a show opener when you can do an incredible pro number. So I don't know. I just feel like sometimes the celeb opening numbers can just land a little bit flat. Not that it was flat tonight, but
it kind of was.
It just is. And I think too, because the studio is so big and everybody is so spread out, you don't get a real feel for what the cast is. And I think
And they're all in different costumes. It's a little mismatched. And let's face it, they just skated towards the camera and waved or did a tiny little move. It's not really showcasing anything. I think we could leave that and just let's go with a wow pro number, or, maybe...
just straight into the show.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. And
It's a long show.
Speaking of straight into the show.
Let's do it.
First skate tonight, Adele and Mark. Now.
Oof. There's a lot to unpack here.
There's a lot to unpack here. I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, you know that I love Adele and Mark.
Likewise.
Again, Mark's choreography to a Charleston on the ice, that is super, super hard. And if people at home don't understand anything about ice skating, let me tell you that the Charleston is all on your toes. It's very choppy, backwards and forwards movements, standing still. There's a lot of movements with the feet where they swish from side to side, which doesn't work on the ice. So Mark did a phenomenal job once again, because he's doing great with his choreography. He did a phenomenal job with what they were given.
Absolutely.
I have to say, I have seen Adele and Mark grow from strength to strength, and I have loved everything they've done. And this week, I didn't love it. I felt she didn't love it. It was a little nervy for me. I was actually concerned that there were a few places where I thought, oh, she's going to go.
Now, we discussed when we were watching, she opened the show. It's always a really tough position because there are many factors involved when you open the show. Number one, you don't have a lot of time on the ice before the show starts. Whereas if you skate sixth or if you are seventh in the running order, you do have 3 or 4 couples before you to quote unquote warm up backstage on the training rink. I don't know if this was something that she didn't love the performance herself or if she just wasn't warmed up enough.
So I felt like they got through it. I think she did a really great job. Let's face it, she's bright and sunny. She was enjoying it. She looked like a flapper. Yeah, they had the moves. She had the look. She looks incredible. In fact, actually this week, big shout out to costume department. It was a huge improvement. I just felt like everybody looked incredible this week and really well put together. But I just feel that it was a bit sloppy, and we're not used to seeing that with her because we know she's tight and we know that she's got great technique and we know that she's got good moves. But she was a little bit sloppy. Arms were a little bit all over the place. Legs were a little bit all over the place. I tell you what it was. The music was too fast.
Well, it could have been the music. I think too, Adele, from what we've seen for her for the past 3 weeks, she's had pieces of music and choreography that was given to her that was long, and she was able to exhibit like extensions. And with this fast piece of music, it's very easy to get lost in losing the movement, right? So it's, even though you have to do an extension with the arm or the leg, you have to get there a lot quicker. And so maybe that's why it felt like she was just a little bit behind the music at some points. I mean, technically speaking, I cannot fault what she's doing right now. Her footwork was incredible. She had toe steps to heel steps, which are really difficult, right? To actually stand on the heel of that blade. The mohawk, she had barrel turns. She did the backflip, which was awesome. However, with this backflip, we're seeing it with a lot of couples.
Oh,
so I think
a different trick, please.
Yeah, and talk with your comrades, talk with the rest of the pros. What tricks are you guys doing? Your comrades. Is that not a thing?
Is this the Russian version of dancing on ice? Your comrade.
It's absolutely not the Russian version of dancing on ice.
Have I been replaced with Nina Yulanova? Because I feel like...
Never.
Okay. Well,
Never.
Maybe your colleagues.
Yeah, but just speak with the other pros. Hey, what tricks are you doing? Just so we're not seeing some like repeated tricks throughout each show.
Pull-throughs, cartwheels, backflips. I've seen them all. I've seen enough of them. Please, let's not see any more.
Now, I thought that, yes, I agree with you to a certain extent that it looked like she was a little bit behind the music, but it was smooth. Like, she doesn't have those wobbly moments. She doesn't come up out of her knees.
She had a couple.
She what?
She had a couple.
Well, there was one at the end, coming out of that flag spin at the end, which is a very difficult trick to land on one foot for the female.
Well, you're upside down and you're spinning, so of course you're really disorientated, so you're right with that. But I felt she was just a little bit exposed this week.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it was cool, it was calm, it was collected, and I loved the character.
I love the character too. I will say one thing, if Mark and Adele, if you do happen to listen or tune in.
They are listening. They've commented on it.
I like that. Well, I will just say, if you do get a fast routine like this again, maybe just make sure that you find your breathing spaces, because she was almost so excited and so manic to get into it and to show it off to us that she didn't have time to find her feet on the ice and connect with the ice. And it made me nervous. I thought she may have a little trip. She didn't, but she was okay.
And I think, too, going back to skating first, the trick that I always did with my celeb, if we got first, was I'd run them around the studio 3 or 4 times to wear them out a little bit, because you just don't have that time on the ice. You don't have that, like, meditative. There's that many T's in meditative?
I think so.
Wow.
I didn't know there was that many T's in my mouth.
Teeth or T's?
I don't, maybe both. I think I lost a few trying to say that. Meditative.
But you don't have that meditative time on the ice before you skate. So.
Yeah, and it's easy to bring that nervous energy to transfer it from backstage onto the rink, and I think that's what we saw tonight.
Absolutely. Now, the judges, it was totally even across the board, 7.5s, total score of 30. Chris loved the amount of steps that she had, and I totally agree with that. And Ashley also said that it was jam-packed, but he felt she was chasing the music. So
did I.
You were bang on.
Yes, Ashley, that's right.
But we don't.
You mean he was bang on? I'm always bang on.
You both were bang on. Adele, keep going, girl.
Yeah.
We love it.
Miles and Vanessa skating to ballet. Voir ce chemin.
So a little known fact about Frankie. She can speak 5 languages, and French is one of them.
And Northern is another. And I can swear in all 5, so don't mess me about.
Yes, ballet on ice. Never easy. I've done it. I did it with Georgie Porter, and I hated it.
Was it the tights?
It was the tights.
The man tights.
You could see my religion, let me tell you that.
I've seen it.
This started off beautiful. That opening shot in the first 2 or 3 counts of 8, oh my God, I was living for it. It was
Mesmerized.
stunning.
Mm-hmm.
Then it started to go a bit, I just felt a little, not on edge, but it got a little bit awkward for some reason for me. I don't know why.
We said this every week with Miles and Vanessa, that he starts off strong and then he kind of fizzles at the end. I didn't feel it as much this week. I had issues with their lifts. His rotations were better. I don't know if he's been listening, but I did give him a little note last week to keep his legs closer together and underneath him when he did the rotations. I found that was better.
Mm-hmm.
The drape made me very nervous. The technique on that was questionable, I would say.
No, that's the overhead lift that we saw, that he has her up over his head. She's leaning back. The first overhead lift that we've seen from them this series.
And I think that Vanessa knew that that was questionable because she didn't let go until very late. And actually, you shouldn't be holding on a drape anyway. So I think she felt that she wasn't secure in that. And that would be a quick, easy fix. I could fix that for them in about 5 seconds. But moving on, their costumes though. They were incredible.
Again, they nailed the look. They nailed the characterization. As the judges mentioned, his hands were better. You know, as we've heard from the past couple of weeks, he had spatula hands. I actually enjoyed the overall performance, and I thought that he kept up with it. Somebody who's not a trained dancer, I thought he did ballet really well.
Well, we know that he went to stage school, so we don't know that he didn't train in ballet when he was younger, but he definitely had much softer arms. You're right, they were much improved. And I think we spoke about that extensively last week, as did the judges. Tights are hard for men because, as you said, tights are hard for all of us.
Well,
Men in tights are hard. But, because you can see every line. You can see every extension, every muscle tone, actually. And I thought he handled it quite well.
You're overexposed, literally, when a man wears a pair of tights.
It makes me want to yodel.
Why?
I don't know.
That's weird.
Yodeling.
Okay. That doesn't make any sense in my head.
Well, it makes me want to yodel.
Okay. Well,
I see a man in
go for it.
tights and I'm all over it.
Go for it. But you're right. There were moments that it was disjointed, and I think that's something that Miles and Vanessa can really work on. The transitions the judges talked about, that they like their transitions, and what that means to you guys at home is when they do a lift, how do they get to the next lift without just skating forwards? Or the moments in choreography need to seem seamless without just lift, skate forward, lift, skate forward. They're good at that, but there were moments when he got a little bit behind or he looked a little bit lost from Vanessa. So I think, again, we're also into week 4. These guys have only had their music for 3 or 4 days. So we're starting to see this is the normal sort of machine that Dancing on Ice is, of having to pump out these routines week after week and lack of training time.
But I also think from Vanessa's part as well, and she's been getting a lot of flack on social media, which I don't like. Everybody's been saying, she's the favourite, she's the judge's favourite. Well, she doesn't get to pick who she skates with.
Correct.
So maybe she's the favourite for a reason.
And she doesn't get to pick her music.
No, she doesn't. And I don't think that that's justified. And I don't like hearing that she's been getting a lot of flack. I don't know her, but I don't think it's her fault whatsoever. And I don't like that. So whoever's doing it, stop it right now. However, I will find you. However, I have to say, for Vanessa, she is very beautiful to watch. We know that. But it's not about her.
Correct.
Right? So I think she just needs to take a little bit more care on focusing on what her partner's doing and making him look good instead of, because we know she looks great. And of course she does. That's amazing. But she needs to make sure that she's taking care of how he looks. And he's doing a great job behind her, but you're saying that he's not quite catching it. You're right. He's a little bit behind her, but she could take care of that a little bit more. That's all.
And that's something that we have slightly touched on last week with Annette and Ricky, where their choreography was out of sync because Annette continued to skate full out when Ricky made a mistake. That is part of your job as a professional on Dancing on Ice, is to, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, dumb down your professionalism sometimes, because you are skating with a novice. You are skating with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. And I think this part of the secret to my success on the show was I learned that really quickly. And it's funny because I go back and I watch myself sometimes and I'm like, oh my God, that was like, for me, a bad position. But it was in sync with the celeb. And so you don't notice it as much.
Oh, 100%. That was
from the public. Yeah.
That was definitely my superpower too. You have to watch your partner and you have to compliment them. We're not here to show off our skating skills, because if we were, that would make them look terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Now the judges, pretty much 8s across the board. Ashley gave them a 7.5. It was a total of 31.5.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I wrote down 32. Oh, so I can speak 5 languages, but math is terrible. I need a calculator.
Last week they were 29 out of 40. So he is, he's improving. And I think a lot of that was his hands.
I mean, he got 3 extra points for his hands. Look, second place again for Miles and Vanessa. They've been consistently in or around that second place. Again, I liked this one actually more than last week, definitely. Do I think they deserve second place?
Okay. Maybe next week.
Yeah.
Musicals week.
Yeah. I think there were other couples that maybe were kind of pushing for that second place for sure.
All right. Lou and Brendan got the waltz, skating to What a Beautiful World. I got to say, she smiled. And I'm so happy about that.
Once.
Ouch. We are just not agreeing on Lou at all.
Do you think it's going to come to fisticuffs? Oh, I hope so. I'm going to win.
No, I've got
Look
Ricky
at the
Hatton
shoes.
out the back.
Look at the shoes.
Yeah, I'm not competing with those heels. She smiled. I loved this performance, and I feel she found her performance. It wasn't deadpan as we've seen from the first couple of weeks. We know she can skate, and I've said this for 3 or 4 weeks now. She did a spin at the top by herself, which then went into some great footwork. The crossovers are really nice. If I'm going to criticize anything, I know you've got a lot to criticize, but if I'm going to criticize anything, Lou, watch your feet in the lifts. They get really club-like, and you got to try and point those feet somehow when you're up in the air.
And by club-like, he means like golf clubs. They kind of stick up at the wrong angle. They should be pointed, if possible. It's hard for non-professional females to do that. I understand that.
But I thought they achieved the waltz theme perfectly.
Can I just say that I met Brendan this week at a theatre performance because I'm very cultured. And I have to say...
Yeah, but she's got a mouth like a truck driver.
In 5 languages. I have to say, though, he looks like George Clooney.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a very handsome guy.
He's very handsome.
He's a nice man as well. I liked him. So it was lovely to meet him. We didn't talk shop because I didn't think it was fair to do that. I have to say, though, with Lou, look, when she got on the ice in boot camp, she was out of the blocks and she was skating fast and confident and smooth. And I haven't seen a lot of progression on that. I haven't. She's still doing the same thing. She should be able to win every skate-off because she's got good technique. She's a good skater. She should be able to beat everybody in a skate-off, to be fair.
So far she has.
Yeah, she has. And she should be able to. But am I enjoying those performances? No, because I don't feel she is.
I think she did tonight. I actually felt something through the camera tonight, personally.
Was it George Clooney?
No, I felt like
Was it Mouse's tights?
I think this was the first week. And Lou, if you're listening, please message us. Or Brendan. Oh, I know Brendan listens. I felt tonight that she enjoyed that. Like it came across. I don't know. Maybe she found her acting skills within her ice boots, but
she was definitely much softer. I definitely felt that she was connecting more to that piece, and it is a gorgeous, beautiful piece. She looked incredible.
She looked great.
Although the dress was a little bulky for that. No, it's not her fault, but the dress was a little bulky for that piece. I would have liked to have seen something a bit more flowing and a little less lampshady. But I just feel that because she's not telling me how much she's loving this, that I'm not loving it. And she should be loving it because she's very comfortable. I never, ever feel that she's going to fall.
Ever.
No, she's very solid. Yeah. But at the same time, I never ever feel like she's throwing her heart and soul and passion into it. And you know, look, Lou, we all know at any moment it could be your last skate. Mm-hmm. So enjoy it like it is that. Enjoy it like it's your last skate.
Yeah. Okay. The judges did say that this was by far the best skate that she's done. Odie really felt that she was in control more so than pretty much anybody else that was out there tonight.
But did you catch the bit when Ashley said, look, Lou, we know you've had a tough time over the past few weeks with the scores. Mm-hmm. Did you see Lou's face?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she was not happy with that.
What that was in reference to is the fact that her scores have been really low and the audience has not liked it. She's been trending on X because of that. That, as much as people say, I don't look at social media or I don't read the papers, it still gets to you, right? Of course. And I think where she isn't up against it in the skating skills, she's up against it in sort of how she feels within that environment.
Well, it's a 50-50 competition. There's 50% skating, 50% performance. I don't feel like her skating's improved, but then again, she was a strong skater to start with. But I do feel like her performance has improved a little bit.
Yes.
But I need more.
We'll give her some time,
I want some heart and soul.
Jeez Louise. Disco diva over here.
Oh, whack.
Total score tonight for Lou and Brendan was 24, pretty much 6.5s across the board. Again.
Mediocre.
Yeah.
Kind of average. She can do better. And this is why I'm being so harsh on her, because I know she can do better, because she's already got the skating skills. She's already comfortable. Show me something. Show me something.
I want her to come out next week to whatever musical they're doing, and I want her to wow you.
I want to be wowed.
I'm putting bets on Lou again.
I love it.
For you.
I love it.
All right, skating fourth, Amber and Simon. Cha-cha-cha.
Chris
That
loves...
was really bad.
Yeah. You might want to take that again. It was terrible.
No, we'll keep it.
Oh, I love it. Own your cha-cha-cha-cha. Christopher Dean loves this music, Sway. We've seen him and Jane skate to it.
Multiple times.
I mean, they love it.
Yeah.
It's his favourite track, I'm sure.
It is.
Dino, I love it too.
Now, here's the deal. This was set to be incredible. You could just tell, right?
I mean, how hot did she look in that red va-va-va-va-voom dress? The roses.
Literally, she was the red dancing girl emoji.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Oh, I didn't spot that.
Literal.
Stunning.
She started on the platform, which is just in front of the judges, meaning that it is not ice. And she went big. She's a West End girl. She's used to that sort of feel of the floor. Granted, she's in ice skates, but the kick she gave was up over her head.
Wowzers.
Then when she got onto the ice, that energy maintained that level. And that's why it looked a little bit shaky.
Woo.
Simon, her professional, his first year on DOI UK, if I can give you a little bit of a note, part of our job as the pro is when your celeb goes big like that and just throws all the energy is to calm them down somehow.
That is my worst nightmare. When you
It's your
see
worst
them,
fear.
Yeah, when you see them go like that and you're like, uh-oh, they've gone. They're not concentrating anymore. They're lost in a moment. Fabulous. Until they step on the ice.
Yeah.
And now you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And as a woman, it would be so hard because obviously the male celebs are so much heavier than me. So for me, when I saw that happen, I was like, I am literally going to be fighting for this entire routine.
Right.
What about
And
as a
it's,
male?
well, same thing. I mean, I had this same thing with Gemma Collins. That very first performance is the live studio environment got to her because that was her first show.
So she's so excited.
Oh, she was so excited, and she just went massive. I mean, like the arm movements were twice as big as what she had done in rehearsals, and it threw her off her feet. And so my job at that point was to try and get her as cool, calm, and collective. And I'm trying to remember, I can't remember exactly what I said to her, but you know, with different celebs that I have skated with, it's always, look at me.
Same.
Look at
Exactly
me.
that. Look at me.
Look at me. Because
Stay with
then
me.
it brings them back into the room. It brings them back to you. And I feel, hopefully Simon did that, but I was trying to look at his face, trying to see if he was mouthing any words to her, which it didn't seem like he did. And I feel that if he would have done that, it probably would have pulled her back a little bit sooner. Granted, she was top of the leaderboard, right? So I just feel the 8.5s that she was given, the judges probably forgave her for the fact that she was a little bit sticky at the top of the skating side
and
of it.
they may not have noticed that she was so hyped up. We could really see it on camera because we get those close-ups and we can tell that she's literally like a racehorse raring to go.
Yep.
But that terrifies me. So just rein it in a little bit, Amber, and try and remember that what you do in rehearsals is what you should bring on the night.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm sure she knows that. She's a big West End star.
Sure. But on the West End, you can afford to phone it in a little bit in rehearsals and then bring your A game on the night. You can't afford to do that in skating because you're going to end up flat on your face.
The ice is way too consistent. Again, without saying anything negative against her outside of that, the skating is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Great lifts. The fact that every week she's doing something new, I am living for this. That is a dream celebrity partner. When they come into work on that Monday or Tuesday morning and they're like, what's new? Like, what can I learn that we haven't already done?
Winning attitude.
Yeah.
I said that last week. Also, can we have a little chat about her amazing legs? Woo!
Ridiculous.
Great posture. Woo!
Yeah.
She's incredible.
Yeah. Again, the judges totally even across the board, 8.5s, top of the leaderboard at 34. All of the judges noticed the fact again that they are doing bigger, better tricks every week, that the skating skills are different every week. Again, it's part of what this journey is about. You know, even if you come to the table each week with one little new thing, if you're, you know, doing a 3-turn, which is turning from forwards to backwards, the week previous, maybe the next week try and put in a mohawk, which is a different way to turn from forwards to backwards. But it's always trying to keep that progression going because the judges do notice that.
The judges, all of them talked about her fluid transitions, and I'm here for that.
Explain what those fluid transitions are.
The judges all talked about her fluid transitions, and I'm definitely here for that. And what they mean by that is that she is moving from one trick to the next trick seamlessly. She's not just skating forwards or marching like a soldier. She is moving seamlessly. She's adding different steps in there, and they're all very fluid. That's why they call them fluid transitions.
Thank you.
Like water.
I have to say, Dance Week, these are interpretations of styles of dance.
Well, on that note, I would have been very unhappy that OT worked with some of the couples and not all of the couples. If I was one of those couples that OT didn't work with on Dance Week, I'd have been furious, and we know how that goes.
Yeah, there would have been an atomic bomb gone off.
Flying.
I mean, it comes with, the thing about it is Odie isn't going to probably go and work with Miles and Vanessa because it was ballet. Like, ballet isn't part of the ballroom
Remit, I get that, but I will say it's
or
not
what we're going to get to, the German
Schnitzel.
Schlitzel.
But I will say she isn't just working with them. She's also now found a rapport with them, and now she understands what they're like as people, and she's going to bring that to the judging panel. You can't help but subconsciously have an opinion about somebody that you met. Whereas when she's judging the people that she didn't skate with, well, she's a bit neutral, right? I didn't like it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
I know.
Well, I'm sure Odie is professional enough to stay Switzerland. Well, speaking of Bavaria.
Well, what a perfect segue.
Ricky and Annette had the German Schuhplattler, if that's how you pronounce it.
I mean, whose idea was that?
I don't know, but I have a surprise for you. I'm really excited. I've been hiding it all day.
Is it a pretzel? I love pretzel. Where have you kept? It's huge. Where have you been hiding
That's what
that?
they all say. I've been hiding it back behind our magic sofa.
Can I eat this now?
You sure can. I was at Borough Market today and I walked past literally a German or a Bavarian baker, whatever they're called. Oh, thanks.
Let's break bread together.
We just broke bread.
This
Cheers.
is significant.
Cheers to the German Schuhplattler. Oh my
Well, now
God,
we
it's
have
so
to-
good.
Now we need a break while we eat. And we'd like to thank our sponsor, Lakeside Shopping Centre, the leading retail and leisure destination in Essex.
Just 35 minutes from London with free parking and over 250 stores to discover. And speaking of which, 2 of those stores styled us this week.
That's right. I was styled by the fabulous TFG.
And me by Next. Back to Ricky and Annette.
Listen, German folk YMCA, no. I don't know who came up with that, and I'm sorry, but never again. It's never been seen before, so I guess we could say it's a world first. But let's not do that on ice anymore, because this whole dance, you're meant to stand. It's kind of like our English Morris dance, and it's got that same kind of folksiness to it. You're meant to stand in one place, and you slap your lederhosen, you slap your feet. There's a lot of like camaraderie going on. This was a terrible idea, and literally, they should have got 10s for being able to perform it.
However, can I push pause on you for a second?
No.
Do you remember Beth Tweddle with Lukash
Yep.
skated to English Morris dancing, and she did do like 8.5s and 9.5s.
So they did a Scottish theme and they did it to Avicii. So the music was already getting you on board. Or I feel like this music was comedy.
Yeah, it was.
Did you enjoy listening to it?
No, I didn't. It just sounded like a bad karaoke track. And then too, they put a mic on him, which was live, so you could hear him like "hoi" and "oomph" and "umph," whatever a German saying is. Like, it
was terrible. The whole thing was terrible. And I really felt for them. You know, when you heard that music at the start of the week, when they give you your track and you hear that music, if you don't like it, you have to listen to that a million times while you got your head around it. And I mean, it must have been awful for them. Of course, Annette is German, but you know, I'm English and I don't like Morris dancing music, or there's certain things about English music that I don't like. Sorry, Morris dancers out there, don't cancel me. You know, I wouldn't want to listen to that 100 times. And I felt for both of them.
It was tough.
But they did really good. They did a really good job.
They did. I mean, for what we saw from Ricky last week, I was quite impressed with how they handled it, first and foremost. And the performance, it worked.
It's his personality. I feel like he can carry anything because he's got this sunshiny personality. Although, did you see? I heard, I think it was in The Sun or one of the newspapers that reported that they'd had a massive row and he'd stormed off. They reported it as a 4-letter rant.
A 4-letter rant.
Was it Scheiße?
That's
Ich bin weg.
That's 8 letters. Yeah, I think if the story is true, what we are seeing is sort of this mid-series meltdowns. Also, given the fact
we're not mid-series yet, though.
No, we're not. We're still a week to 2 weeks away from that.
Although we could be the middle of his series, maybe.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, Ricky's been up against it the past couple of weeks. The judges haven't said amazing things about him. He hasn't had amazing scores. So you're in this position of constant criticism and no praise, and that gets to you.
Yeah, and I think you can tell he's a really upbeat personality. Yeah. He's naturally got that aura about him where he's very positive, and so it must be really dragging him down. I think he's doing really well.
I mean, we didn't see any of the tension in the VTs or on the ice tonight. It looked like their relationship is normal, healthy. They
moved on.
They've moved on from it.
Well, and people at home won't know this, but of course, if an article like that makes the papers, it's because the ITV press office have released that. There's nobody else in those training quarters. It's not like somebody's leaked it. You know, it's going to be him and her on the ice with a camera crew. So somebody in that room has leaked that. I can guarantee you it wasn't Ricky, and I guarantee you it wasn't Annette. So that's come via the correct channels, via the press office. They felt it was newsworthy enough to generate some publicity for the show, and they've put it out there. Maybe it was a storm in a teacup.
Yeah, and I think maybe it may not have been as severe as the papers made it out to be, but regardless, they got through the routine. Yeah, they were up against a really bad track.
Wow.
A really weird style of dance, but, you know, I think
Gold star Ricky and Annette.
Gold star Ricky and Annette. The judges scored it 6 to 6.5. Chris actually gave him a 5.5.
Listen, he was shocked by those scores. Ricky stood there and was like, I can't believe it, because he even thought it was bad.
Yeah.
And actually, as you said, the skating wasn't bad, and what they did with what they were given was incredible. But when Chris gave him the 5, he said, thank you, Chris, because that's what he believed that it was worth. And I like that honesty. He's not trying to play the game and go, yeah, I knew it was great. Actually, he knew that was a tough track.
Yeah, for sure. What I'd love to is at the end of it, he did a 2-foot spin, again, showing improvement. He's bringing new elements to the ice. You know, yeah, he's still a couple of weeks behind everybody else, but he's trying.
And I like his personality.
Claire and Colin, couple number 6, skating to burlesque, Hey Big Spender.
No. Singing to burlesque.
Skating and singing to burlesque. That opening shot with her in that clamshell or whatever that thing was.
Claire's clam. Oh, sorry. That's what it was. It was a clam. I could see the whole thing.
I thought.
You okay?
Yeah.
It's got you all hot under the collar.
Frickin' brilliant.
Yeah, amazing.
I actually even said when we were watching it, I was like, she doesn't even need to skate.
No.
Just stand there, sing to me, Claire, in your clam, and just, I bought the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I loved Claire singing clam. And actually, I couldn't tell when she went from...
Claire's singing clam.
Yeah, I want to yodel again. Yodel. So I actually couldn't tell. Okay, we need to bring it down. I think we've taken it way too high. Bring it down. Bite your cheeks, and I'm
good.
Okay. You couldn't tell when she was singing live, and when she went from singing live to singing to the pre-recorded track, that she was still actually singing.
Yeah.
Amazing. She did skate by herself. That's what they asked for. She got out of her clam, and off she went all by herself. It's clammy.
No, the thing is we saw in the VT too is that yesterday or
I
possibly.
can just hear people giggling back here. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
It's your clam jokes.
Giggle chops.
As we saw in the VT, either yesterday or, today on the performance day, she has sprained a rib.
Oh, that's so incredibly, unbelievably painful. You can't even reverse your car because you can't turn around. It's so incredibly painful.
Now, we have to talk about this injury because it is very common with the female celebs on Dancing on Ice that they have rib injuries. Why do we hear about this every single year with 2 or 3 of the celebs? Mostly because of the lifting that they do.
It's such a strain on your core because then you're adding centrifugal force into those lifts. And those muscles have never, ever in their entire life been put under that kind of pressure.
Yeah. And so that's
you can't train for it.
That's why we see so many rib injuries with the female celebs due to the lifting. But she muscled through it. I thought the performance that she gave was stellar.
She looked incredible.
She looked incredible. Like the skating, it doesn't have the power of, let's say, Greg or Ryan, but it's there. And the fact that she's able to perform as well as she's doing while skating
and singing
and then sing on top of it. I mean, I thought the scores should have been at least a point higher than what the judges gave her.
She was a silver sensation. I mean, her hair, her makeup. She's what, 55, 56? God, she looked amazing.
She really did.
I will say the costume that she had on was a little low, and I feel like they'd added a piece to it because I actually thought she'd had a little boob slip from her clam.
A little Janet Jackson or a Pamela Anderson?
I mean, kind of, yeah. Oh, yeah, you had that with Pamela Anderson when
sure
her
did.
boob fully
Came out.
said hi.
And then gave me breakfast.
Oh. Pretzel, anybody?
Dolce de leche.
No.
It was nice. It was nice, though.
Are we still talking about the costume?
No, the Dolce de leche.
I have to say, I'm gonna pretend you're not even here now. I'm just
Okay.
gonna go solo.
Hey, big spender!
The boob slip. I thought she had a boob slip.
It did look like it.
I did look like it, and I was kind of trying to put my hand over the screen because I didn't want to see any more. And I think that she felt that because she seemed a little bit uncomfortable when she came out of the last lift there when she was upside down.
Yeah.
And I felt like that's when it happened, and I felt it put her off for the rest of the routine. Don't know if it did or not. Don't know if that's what she felt, but that's what I felt.
Yeah, fair
But
enough.
I actually thought that Colin was going to go in and wake it back up and do a Justin Timberlake.
If it would have been out, he probably would have.
So it probably wasn't.
Yeah,
then.
probably
Okay.
wasn't out.
She would have got more points.
She did say in the Kiss and Cry that the show must go on, which
She's
is
a trooper.
great attitude to have whenever you have an injury. Judges scored her, or Ashley, Odie, and Jane scored her a 6. Chris gave her a 5.
The audience booed.
The audience did, well, because I thought it was brilliant.
I booed as well.
Yeah. I think what they want to see, though, and I think what we all want to see is more skating. But what she brings to that rink is the performance, unlike 8 of the other couples.
She's an incredible performer. I actually want to go and see her in whatever she's in next. I'm there for it. I hope she's in Chicago or something really sultry because she's so demure, so sultry. And I hate when they say that women of a certain age get cancelled in this business because she is flying the flag for
She really
sex
is.
on skates. Literally was amazing. The choreography was quite simple. But I tell you what, in the first week, we talked about how she was kind of covering up her nerves by lip syncing.
Mm-hmm.
So what a brilliant play to actually have her lip syncing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
She seemed a little bit deflated, though, at the end of it.
I think, she's been up against the injury. Your body, after you have that adrenaline rush, crashes,
Yeah.
right? And she's going to be freaking sore tomorrow. Let me tell you that.
Yeah.
And I think probably from what the judges said, left her deflated because with a performance like that feels amazing, that looks amazing, but then you get criticized that there's not enough skating or they want to see more skating. You're kind of like,
Boo, judges, boo.
like you wanted to hear 100% praise.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's probably why when they skated off it back into the training rink through the tunnel that they were a little bit like, oh,
A little deflated.
yeah.
Well, her boobs weren't. They were still there. Woof. Bam.
23.5 was her total score, which is actually a 0.5 below last week.
Really?
Yeah.
I hate these judges. Seriously, let's get rid of them.
We don't hate. Hate is a strong word, Frankie.
Okay, I really didn't like the scores that they gave to Claire this week, and I'm very disappointed in all 4 of them, and I have their numbers.
What did you think of the scores for Ryan and Amani?
Well, this is very interesting. They scored a 29. They did a tango.
Mm-hmm.
That opening shot of them in the tunnel where they were backlit and you were getting all the shapes.
Sick.
I liked it a lot. But Amani's had a virus, so speaking of sick, Amani's had a virus.
So because Amani was sick, Robin Johnstone stepped in for a day. And then Ryan and Odie also came in to work with Ryan on the tango that they skated
And the
to.
reason why they do that is because it's really important for Ryan to not miss a day's training just because Amani's not there now. Amani's a professional skater. She could catch up, no problem. But obviously for Ryan, if he misses a day just because Amani can't skate, then he's now a day behind. Nobody wants that.
And they had a really bad fall in rehearsals, trying the throw double sow cow. Now, Ryan in the VT looked really defeated because of it. And he said that he dropped her.
He didn't drop her.
And I want to correct this. He did not drop her. It's a throw. Girls fall on throws. They don't get dropped out of throws.
Now, granted, his technique, throwing her into that is what put her off. She could land that with her eyes closed. Of course, we know that.
Yeah.
If she has a professional partner that's throwing her, of course, his technique was a little off, but he didn't drop her. Of course not.
No. Now, the performance itself, there was a lot in it. It was quite powerful. However, it left me feeling a little underwhelmed because it just wasn't quite in sync.
Because it was meant to be a tango.
And it wasn't really a tango.
No, where was that passion and that slow kind of like snap?
Yeah.
I didn't feel that. I didn't feel tangoed. It left me a little bit underwhelmed as well. And I think you're right. I think that was the choreography. There was just too much of it. Because with the tango, you really have to find those moments of grace and then passion. And I didn't get that.
Yeah. And I think Amani too was just a little bit too smiley. And I think she's a great professional. And I feel the face was just a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
It was, hi, look at me.
It was too light for a tango.
Yeah.
We need dark.
And it should have been face to face, nose to nose. I want to eat your face.
I want
sort
to
of
eat
feeling.
your pretzel.
You have.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't feel that they were giving the right face. And I didn't feel that there was that tension between them. When you're doing a tango, you want that kind of sexual tension.
Yeah.
And I just felt like they were like, woohoo, let's go. Amazing.
Well, I don't think it was like all show busy, but I just felt like they just weren't in sync with each other this week. The backflip that they did, we saw it from another couple already. So again,
enough of the
pros,
backflips.
Just keep in contact with each other so you know what tricks you're doing.
Look, there weren't much time for the transitions, and Christopher Dean said that he wanted to see more transitions, smoother transitions. Look, there's a minute and a half, so, that was not an ice dancing performance. It was a pair skating performance.
Now, what that means, there are two disciplines when it comes to couples skating. In competitive figure skating, there's ice dancing, which is what we're all familiar with Torval and Dean, with the bolero. But there's also pair skating, which was what my discipline was. And that is the overhead lifts. That is the spins, the jumps, the throws. And Amani comes from a pair skating background, not an ice dancing background. And what, Frankie, you've just said is this was more of a pair routine than an ice dance routine. And maybe that's why it left us a little bit underwhelmed.
But it had a lot of pair tricks. I mean, look, we all know that ice dancing is very beautiful. It's very fluid. It's very smooth. It's very balletic. It tells a story. But from my point of view, being a pair skater, I enjoy the big tricks. They had a reverse roll up. They had the throw.
The tricks were great.
Granted, she landed it on 2 feet, but that's because she was being safe. Again, we talked about this. Now, what's interesting is Greg and Vanessa James tried the throw double salchow last week, and she singled it, so she only did one rotation in the air before she landed. Amani managed 2 rotations, but she didn't land it clean. She landed on 2 feet. So we can see that these tricks are all a work in progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it's funny to see that the different couples are really competing with each other with these tricks, which we've not seen before on Dancing on Ice before. You can really tell week by week by week, like they're all like peeking through the curtains at each other.
It
like,
is
what are they working
fierce
on?
backstage. I'm telling you, that competition is hotting up.
Now, they ended with rain at the end, the rain curtain. I don't understand why that was there. What are you looking at?
You've got a little fly.
Oh, hi, friend. Look, it's a little fruit fly.
Well, we don't have any fruit in the studio.
I'm a fruit.
Oh, you're fruity.
The rain at the end, I just didn't quite understand it.
Why? Because that's an expensive feature to use, so use it on something that it makes sense.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense to me.
But if I'm going to give Amani any notes, hold the end position longer.
She celebrated too soon.
Oh my God, did she ever? I wanted to, because it was hot at the end, right? It was like sexy, and I could feel they started to finally get that energy between the two of them, and she landed that spin, and he flipped her, and she's spinning on her back, which was super cool.
Yeah.
And then she stuck her heel in the ice, which then stops her immediately, and she threw her head back, and the music ends, and the applause, and then she celebrated. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, she broke the moment, definitely.
Yeah.
And that was going to be a real tableau. We would have seen that. I think she was spinning on her belly, actually.
Oh, okay.
But then she flipped. But yeah, you're right. Oh, I tell you what. Chris Fountain in the audience.
Yeah.
Big it up, soldier boy.
There to obviously support Ryan.
Yeah,
his best friend.
They're best friends. And obviously, Chris and I skated together and came second in the show. So
Yeah.
we have great memories of skating together.
Now, judges scored him 7 and 7.5s, a total of 29, which was 4 points higher than last week.
A bit low.
No, I don't. I think that was pretty fair. It ended him up fourth or fifth on the leaderboard.
Yeah, that's about right.
The judges said that they definitely want to see the transitions, as we've been talking about a lot this show, to be a little bit more difficult.
But as I said, it wasn't a nice dancing piece. It was a pair skating piece.
But it's dance week.
That might have been a bit of a misstep on their part, because with it being a tango, perhaps they should have focused more on the ice dance.
Yeah. And again, both Jane and Chris, strong performance, but better transitions in the future.
Bleh.
Bring it. Skating number 8, Eddie and Vicky.
Oh.
Eddie and Vicky.
Yeah.
Karma Chameleon.
I want to say amazing things about these two. I really want to get behind them.
Well, we're behind them, but just this week.
Yeah.
This week was a little.
It was off. I was a little underwhelmed, and I love him. You can just tell he's got this great personality. Look, what I love about this is that they're skating to the jive, and Eddie met his gorgeous partner at a jive class. Who even knew?
Who knew that he does dance class?
I love it. What a beautiful story. And then they gave him this big slide to slide down. Boy George was in the VT. I mean, come on, he's ticking all the boxes here. But then I don't know what happened once he got off the slide and they started to skate. And actually, he's a good skater. Did you see some of the steps he was doing?
His footwork is incredible. His basic skating is A+.
Yeah.
I think they were a victim of the music, and I am the biggest Boy George fan, and I love Karma Chameleon. It is literally like my childhood. However, not a great track to skate to.
I put the tough track.
It's
really tough.
mid-tempo, and we've spoken about this a lot on the podcast. Those mid-tempo songs are hard to choreograph to, because it's like, what do you do? It's just the steady beat that goes through the whole thing.
There's no highlights, there's no crescendos. It's just kind of a little bit flat. I get it. Yeah. It was a tough track.
All I wrote down for this is, I just don't know. I didn't know what to think about it. The skating was great. The characterization was...
Were you confused.com?
I was literally confused.com.
I mean, I think they missed a lift, or I think they missed something. They were skating along the back, and it looked like they fumbled their hands, and you and I have done that even in real life before. So we know how that works. But they fumbled their hands, and I felt like they missed a count of 4, something where there should have been a little lift or a little hop, or something should have happened, didn't happen. And then I think I could see Vicky chatting to him. She managed to pull it back, and then they just continued.
Yeah.
But I felt that they missed something. I felt they were very late at the end. That could have been because they missed the lift that they were supposed to do. I'll be honest with you, I didn't love the choreography.
It's hard. It's a hard track to skate to. Plus, with the creative of them, I guess a chameleon in the jungle, because they look like they were in jungle gear.
It was giving me Jumanji vibes.
A bit, yeah. Totally.
I think we move on from it. It wasn't his best week. He'll know that. He didn't even seem into it himself. I mean, and he's really, he's a born performer. He loves being on the ice. He loves having an audience.
His history on this show,
absolutely.
By all means.
But I felt like he was even a little bit underwhelmed.
Judges scored him 28.5, 7.5 from Ashley, and then 7s from Odie, Jane, and Chris.
And how does that compare to last week's score for him?
Last week he had 28, this week 28.5. However, it pushed him down 2 places on the leaderboard.
I think that's fair. I actually don't think that comparing his performance last week to his performance this week is fair, because he knocked it out the park this last week. And this week, I don't think it should have been an improvement, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you don't always luck out with the best music or the best creative. And what he did, it was a safe skate.
But look what Annette and Ricky did with the worst music and the worst creative.
Maybe it was that's what pushed them to work extra hard.
I hope so.
This week.
No wonder they were fighting backstage. I would have been fighting too.
All right, next to skate, Roxy and Sylvan. The belly dance. Can you belly dance?
Of course.
Let's see it.
No, I saved that for my husband.
You save that for your husband.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Good God. The start of this routine was just ridiculous.
Can Sylvan always skate with no shirt on, please? I'm putting that request out right now.
But Roxy, she was backlit with like all that fire. And I wrote down, good God. The opening shot was so hot.
Yeah. I mean, they are literally fire on ice, these two.
Yeah.
She looks incredible, but, and I don't want to say but I have to. All right, we know they had the fall in the week, and that was on, just for anybody that's listening and might be commentating on the show, that's called a blender. So that spin that they did where she is hanging by her ankle and one hand, and she's upside down with her head about this far off the ice, about a foot off the ice. That's called a blender, or you call it a
can opener in America.
Opener, right. So when they did that and she fell and she landed on her head, that makes me nervous because Sylvan's a seasoned professional. He knows how to save a lift like that. So the fact that she pulled him off his feet, she must be going really hard into that.
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen.
Well, it's part of the learning process. What happened, we weren't there, and I couldn't tell from the VT, but unfortunately it happened, and that is a huge knock to your confidence.
Well, you could tell in the performance because she didn't own that number. This could have been a Jai-Ho moment. This could have been a Hayley Tamerden Jai-Ho moment. She's got that Persian background, the belly dancing, the music. It was sultry. They look incredible. And it just wasn't. It didn't hit the mark for me.
Technically, why she is improving, the 3 turns are there, the back crossovers are there. They're nice. You know, they're not amazing, but they are nice. And
Look,
I'm seeing improvement with that, but she's throwing the movements away.
You don't get a piece like a belly dance to Beautiful Lie with a topless Sylvan and do it nice. I mean, that's not good enough. It needs to be pow.
Yeah.
Pow, pow. Pow, wow, wow. Literally. Look, I need a bit more from her because she looks amazing. Sylvan looks amazing. She's got decent skating, so if she really would just perform that, I feel like we would have been blown away.
I'm going to put that down to probably the fall this week because the lift that they fell was at the end.
I know.
So you worrying about that the entire performance.
The last thing she said on the VT was, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
And we could tell. So, yeah, hopefully they move onwards and upwards next week. They made it through the skate-off, through the elimination round, so they're safe, and hopefully they can move on.
Judges,
the audience booed.
Well, they booed because the scores were 6 to 6.5, and then there was, Odie gave her a 7. Odie did say, what I loved is that, in essence, that she could be the dark horse.
Yeah.
Because she is right on that precipice of becoming incredible.
The audience booed.
Yeah.
Boo.
And I think because the in studio, the performance probably was a lot hotter than what we saw on television.
I didn't feel any chemistry, or certainly not enough chemistry. I mean, he had no shirt on.
Well, but you can't really see that when you're sat in the audience, right?
What, the chemistry?
No, the closeness.
Oh.
Like, we get the close-up shot, right?
True.
So we get to see her face. When you're in the audience, you're 50 feet away.
I feel like they just got through it, really.
But what I did love was that Odie, in essence, basically called her the dark horse.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where she's coming from. If she thinks that she's going to be able to go up against the likes of Amber, and as the judges really like, Miles or Greg, you know, I think she's going to have to catch up real fast.
Speaking of Greg, skating
Let's speak about Greg and Vanessa.
James. The salsa to
Ricky Martin.
I'm going to say this is a hard track. Salsa is hard, especially on the ice.
It was a smoking, hot, steamy, spicy salsa. This is not your service station salsa. This is like straight from Mexico giving me tamale salsa.
Jalapeno.
Seriously?
Love it.
I loved it. Get me some nachos. I'm good to go.
The power that he exuded tonight, those backward crossovers looked, and I don't think I've ever said this about a celebrity. The back crossovers looked like a professional's.
Yep. And this is why I was really angry last week with you and Christopher Dean, and you were both on my hit list because...
Rude.
Yeah, because you were both like, oh, he's not skating fast enough. I'm like, dude, he didn't get that speed in a week. Like, he was skating fast enough. He is pushing hard. I mean, he had a bit of a dodgy swizzle. I'll give you that.
If I'm going to fault anything with Greg and Vanessa, it was his twizzle that he did. It really wasn't a twizzle. It was a twazzle.
I think because he fell off it. He's so tall. I think he just kind of like, timber.
Yeah, I mean, at his height to have that rotation. First off, the twizzle is a move that you normally see about week 3, week 4 from.
They're deceptively hard, though.
They are very difficult. Yeah. What a twizzle is for you guys at home is typically skating forwards on one foot. You do a full rotation without jumping. So it's basically
a one spin on the ice while you're traveling.
Yeah. Thank you, because I had a bit of a brain fart.
I saw that. You were like, you just stopped.
I just, yeah.
Thought I better step in. So I felt like the routine this week wasn't as busy. Last week they had the throw, they had the split twist. I mean, some incredible tricks. And I think that's why Chris said he wanted smoother transitions. There just wasn't the time. This week they reined it in a little bit. And their main trick was at the end, the pendulum. Obviously very difficult. I could talk about that all day because it actually was very dangerous the way that was completed at the end. I didn't like it. I don't ever want to see that done in that way again.
With a different clarification for the handholds that they had were a little bit off.
The handhelds were off. The technique was off. That needs fixing, but we'll talk about that another day because they managed to pull it off without her getting seriously injured. But that really made me very, very nervous. And it makes me mad when I see poor technique with celebs and pros, because I feel like if somebody could just step it in and make that happen, it would be a safer place. I don't want to see anybody get injured, and especially not somebody that the caliber that Vanessa's got, because she's going to start pushing Greg. I mean, she's pushing him already, and I just want to make sure that they're safe.
And she has messaged me because we've had a bit of a conversation back and forth because she listens to this show. And she said a lot of the stuff she's doing is new to her because she's doing adagio tricks now, which is like the last pendulum lift you saw. And she's very much open to criticism and any help
I'm not
that she can get.
criticizing her by any means.
Yeah.
I just would like to see her have more help on these, because that could have gone very wrong very quickly. And I think if you don't know these lifts,
ask for help.
Yeah, and I'm always happy to help with that, because I would rather not see anybody get injured. However, they got through it, and that's fine. We'll never see that again, and that's great. Put it to bed. The speed on this guy. Woof.
It was powerful. It was sexy. It was speedy. The confidence that he exudes you cannot teach that.
And once again, he's not a performer. So he's getting this connection between him and Vanessa. And this is where she's really working him, because she's teaching him how to skate and look at her and connect with her.
How to connect. Yeah. And that
amazing.
It's a hard skill to teach, but it's also a hard skill for that celeb to learn and for it to become innate. And
to be open-minded enough to say, hey, I'm not going to make a fool of myself out here. I'm actually going to fully embrace this role that I've been given, which was sultry, sexy, hot, smoking hot, more hotness.
Ashley commented, a powerhouse duo. He did mention that he wants Greg to relax a little bit to find that fluidity within the transitions, which I can understand where Ashley's coming from when he says that. But again, it was salsa. I think they nailed it.
Yeah, and Ashley's coming from a dance background, so obviously he knows what a perfect salsa on the floor looks like.
Yeah.
But we can't do those moves on the ice. It's not possible. Our feet don't move in that way. And so you have to sometimes compromise and bring a flavor of salsa or bring a flavor of tango or whatever it is you've been given to the ice, because you can't replicate what dancers can do. Of course not, as they can't replicate what skaters can do.
Total score of 30.5. Last week they had a 28.5, so it was 2 points above.
Robbed again.
Robbed. Pretty much 7.5s across the board. Chris did give them an 8.
I like Christopher Dean. He's my favorite.
I think they could have been at least 8 to 8.5s.
Agree. They were robbed.
Even with the little bit of a wobble on that twizzle.
Listen, everybody had a wobble tonight. I didn't see a single couple that didn't have a wobble. So that is an even playing field.
Yeah.
So let's forget the wobbles, and they skated last, so they already know that everybody's had a little bit of a slip. I thought they were smoking hot. I think Greg's pushing for the top.
Greg is definitely a huge contender here.
Do you not think he's the one who's making the fastest and the most amount of progress? Him and Amber.
I don't feel Amber has made the most progress because she's already a performer.
True.
Okay.
Good point.
Greg, yes. His skating is getting better and better and better. I'm not seeing massive improvements in his skating. What I like with Greg is that he's listening to the judges and he's bringing exactly what the judges say to the table each week. But however, Greg is bringing the performance, which is harder to teach and harder to learn than the actual skating skills.
He's
I feel.
bringing more to the table than the judges are asking for, and I'm all over it. And I'll tell you what it is. Look at this. We've got Eddie the Eagle. Okay, this week was a little bit underwhelming, but he's doing amazing things with his performance.
Yeah.
And we've got Greg doing amazing things with his performance. What is going on, people?
I've told you, I said this episode 1 of this show, we're seeing things on this series of Dancing on Ice that we have never seen before. The performances from these non-actors, these non-musical theater people are outshining some of the musical theater people.
I 100% couldn't agree with you more.
Bravo.
We've never seen Rainbow Eyes before either.
I have on myself. All right, let's take a look at the leaderboard. Top of the leaderboard there was Amber with 34, Miles 31.5, Greg 30.5, Adele at 30, Ryan 29, Eddie 28.5, Roxy 26, then Lou and Ricky were joint with 24, and Claire was bottom of the leaderboard there at 23.5.
I mean, look how far ahead Amber is from her closest rival, who is Miles.
Yeah.
She's miles ahead.
She's miles ahead of Miles.
2.5 points ahead of him.
3.5? 2.5. Yeah, 2.5 points ahead.
Yeah.
So,
I had to really focus.
what does that have anything to do anything?
He's got a long way to catch up.
It'll all change next week.
I know, for sure.
So, unfortunately, as we saw the lineup tonight, all of the couples got through except for Lou and Claire, which I was surprised by that.
Who did you think it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be Ricky and Lou. I thought that Claire, even though she was bottom of the leaderboard, I thought that Coronation Street vote, as we've seen with so many other celebs in the past, would have gotten her through past this skate off.
Plus, she's kind of the Dancing on Ice demographic as well. Dancing on Ice has been around for 18, 19 years now, and I think the audience has grown, and we're all kind of, of that similar sort of middle-aged woman. So you would have thought that that would have gotten her through, or you thought that, women would vote for each other, but apparently not.
Apparently
we're all
not.
voting for Sylvan because he had no shirt on. Woof! However, I have to say, last week, Hannah Spirit was at the bottom of the leaderboard, and she went home.
Yeah.
So I do feel that the audience are taking on board what the judges are saying and taking on board the judges' critique, and they're not voting against that, which is not what we normally see. Normally,
Correct.
when somebody's bottom of the leaderboard, we'll see the audience will pick that baton up and run with it and vote extra for that person. We haven't seen that yet. So
Very true.
come on, peeps at home.
Now, the skate off itself, Lou skated first, and I loved it. Again, I think you mentioned it earlier in this show that she could win the skate off pretty much against anybody.
I think you could put her in the skate off week after week, and her technical skills are so strong and she's so comfortable on the ice that she should win the skate off, really. I mean,
Right.
she could take on some of the people at the top of the leaderboard and beat them in a skate off because she's a strong skater,
And then
but she's not a strong performer.
she's not. And then on the flip side, then Claire skated and she gave the performance of a lifetime.
She was on fire. She was relight my fire. She was on fire. I
Yeah.
loved it.
I mean, I've not seen a performance from a celebrity like that. I mean, she was literally skating for her life.
She fought for that.
She really did fight for that. And bravo to you, Claire. Unfortunately, the judges voted to save Lou, so Claire did go home.
I wouldn't have. If I would have been on that judging panel, I think I would have saved Claire because I enjoyed it so much more. And that's not to say that Lou's skating isn't technically very strong. It really is. But again, I don't feel like she's fighting for it. And maybe she just doesn't want it enough. That's what I feel.
I don't know. Let's
Did you
have
not
her
feel
on.
like Claire was really fighting for that? Like she wanted to be there?
100%. I do agree with you. It looked like Claire was fighting 150 times what Lou was, giving us at home watching. But again, I think as the judges mentioned when they casted their vote, this is a skating competition and not a performance competition.
Okay. Well, then let's remember that in future performances when they're scoring people higher that are performing and not skating. It's inconsistent.
You have a point.
Yeah. Lou's skating is great. She did an unassisted spiral.
Yeah.
Very difficult to balance on one leg with your other leg above hip height in the air so that you're making a sort of a T shape if people at home don't know what a spiral is. Granted, she was pulled into it and then obviously Brendan let her go, but she did have this incredible spiral by herself. The other ladies that we've seen do the spiral so far on the series have all been assisted. They've all been holding onto their partners. So we know she can skate.
Yeah.
But just make me believe it, Lou. Every week I say this and I really want her to to throw it in my face, to own her performances the way that Claire owned her performances.
Yeah.
And that's why I would have saved Claire, because I felt like she was the one that really wanted to be there.
Well, once again, she has that skate off behind her. She's the only person in this competition that now has done 2 skate offs. So she has experienced something that nobody else in that competition has experienced yet.
And we know that Brendan is a skate off king.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done a lot of skate offs.
So let's just hope next week she realizes how much it means to her and she shows us.
Hear, hear, preach.
Unfortunately, we lost Claire and Colin tonight. Claire, first and foremost, thank you so much for the entertainment that you gave us over the past couple of weeks. You will be missed.
Absolutely. Anyway, back to my pretzel.
I was going to say, enjoying the pretzel.
Yeah, you want some?
No, not yet. We're not done yet. Thank you guys so much for joining us here at the Icebreakers podcast. Make sure you tune in on Fridays as well, as we have our bonus episode, which this week we are going to be sitting down and talking to Michelle Heaton, who was in the show last year. Make sure you follow us on all of our socials, as you can see on screen if you are watching us. And next week, there's a double elimination. Dun,
Shock
dun, dun.
horror.
So,
Speak clearly into the pretzel.
thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. Produced by Be Inspired Media, the content and podcast agency.